Charles, welcome to yet another epic broadcast from inside my car. And look at that, it's working. I've spent a lot of time making sure everything is set correctly, nothing is getting interfered with, and I've changed actually some things about the car itself. You know, Charles, anytime you get involved in these complex integrated systems, there's a whole lot of stuff that can go wrong. And I know a lot of people think it's easy, but I just try to make it look that way. How are you, Charles?
I'm doing well. I got, as you can see, I got some of my art installed last week. And this week we're going to be shaking down the balance of the apartment. And I should have the studio ready. I was able to assemble a table that my parents purchased in 1954 or 55, which is a remarkable table that comes apart and gets put back together with no, just no nails, no nothing. You'll see it. It's absolutely beautiful. But anyway, it's coming together here. As I was saying to you before we got online here, I really wish I'd made this move 20 years ago. I can't believe how nice it is out here, particularly the rhythm of life. Now it's every day is getting nicer. November, early December is the rainy season, so it was kind of gray, but now it's kind of those California days where it's cool at night and sunny during the day. And it's really a joy to be here. And beginning actually next week, a stream of visitors is coming in every week. So
that's exciting.
Yeah,
Charles,
it'll be fun.
We've had some visitors perhaps from another planet. I mean, we might be a little bit late to the drone story here. There was a technical problem last week that delayed this show, but it seems like people still don't know what's going on with these drones. And I've put together this graphic. We've got various Star Wars characters, Yoda there, and of course the heroes of the day. There's so much to discuss, Charles. Where would you like to begin?
Well, on the drone story, we're not exactly in the United States down at the level of Pitcairn Island, some minuscule almost country, or I don't know if it's a country that has a government budget of $100,000. I mean, we're spending $10 trillion a year, much more than we take in. And it is unacceptable to have a Defense Department and the Department of Homeland Security and all of these other agencies not able to tell us what's really going on here. We have eyewitness accounts from that I've seen on the media of seemingly credible people, either in law enforcement, the Coast Guard, or whatever, who are claiming that the government is lying, that they actually, and there's no shock there, right? But as Trump said, the military knows where these drones took off from. They know where they're going back, and they're not telling people what's really going on. That's disgusting. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting.
But he said he's not going to go to Bedminster, almost as if he knows there's something up there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just this is Joe Biden and really the people who are protecting Joe Biden and think they protect themselves are disgusting human beings, right? As Thomas Jefferson, I saw some story, he said that the government under the Constitution would only function if the electorate was religious and honest, and that the system doesn't work if that isn't the case. And I think, park the religion issue for a second. I think by religion, what he meant back then is that the second human beings decide that there'll never be any retribution for their incorrect or illegal or immoral acts, and the second those same people get a lot of power, abuses happen. And that's what's happened with this family, and with the people protecting the Bidens, the people protecting the Bushes, the Clintons, the Obamas, etc. They have decided that the Constitution doesn't apply to them, that they're on a larger mission, and we petty little puny humans and voters and taxpayers, we should just shut the fuck up and do what we're told. And now we have the spectacle. I mean, there have been so many abuses by this president, that now we're in a dangerous place where he probably believes he's gotten away with everything he's done so far. Let's go for something truly gargantuan. There's a story, not in a mainstream publication, suggesting that Biden's going to go follow the scorched earth policy, that he's going to, on the way out the door now, continue to persecute his perceived political enemies and let his friends off. And who knows how much more money the family's going to steal.
Wow.
I mean, this is really, to me, the people, the 25th Amendment, Turley noticed this, but didn't frame it the way I'm now going to do it. The people in the high-level cabinet positions under Joe Biden belong in jail, all of them, right? They are the ones who, if they weren't meeting, if you point me to a high position in anything and tell me that I can't see my boss, I tell you to go fuck yourself. Right, I'm not going to be out there on with some fake job pretending that I'm in charge of something behind this bureaucracy that just does what it wants. The people who are cabinet level positions, the very same people that Democrats are trying to stop Trump from getting on board from January 20th afterwards, those people were confirmed by the Senate. They swore an oath to uphold the Constitution, including the 25th Amendment. They have to know that Joe Biden has been insane, demented and insane, since before he was Super Tuesday in 2020, where they just greased the skids and put him in, and then proceeded, I think, to steal the election of 2020. I think there's abundant evidence that happened.
Yeah.
Those people have been they've conducted an actual subversion or insurrection of the Constitution through that election, through the attempt to install somebody who didn't even win one primary vote in 2024, Hee Haw Harris. This has all been a charade. This has been a gross abuse of taxpayer funds. It has placed the United States at home and abroad in a precarious position. Our financial system is under grave threat because he's the Janet Yellen, a moron. Morons are smarter than Janet Yellen, conspired with the creeps who want to bring America down to stack our debt and weight it so that it's short term. When you buy a house, the simple approach, when you buy a house, you shouldn't buy a house with a demand note, in other words, something that would have to be paid at any point in time. You want that house, which is a 30-year asset, to be financed with a 30-year mortgage. Same goes for our government. Instead of doing it that way, we have long-term obligations that should have been funded with long-term debt, where you don't have to worry about what happens in a credit crisis. Instead of doing that, they weighted our government debt, these massive deficits that supposedly were under control, according to the liar Yellen and the liar Biden. They piled up this massive, expensive debt, and we have looming credit crises around the world. There's a guy called Martin Armstrong who's been very successful predicting what happens through past cycles, and he's saying that there's a serious risk now of a European depression, an American recession, and a sovereign debt crisis around the world. That's what these idiots have served up to us. And what happened in the cabinet meetings? Where was the stress testing of ideas? Where was the criticism of Joe Biden? How do you have an administration covering up for a guy who can't attend a meeting? He said, I'm having a bad thing. He's having a bad day. He supposedly was asleep in a plane for 3 hours as these grieving families were waiting to get remains. That's not the real story.
Right. No, he's getting
it can't be
surgery or something.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that he was asleep. I mean, you don't keep, particularly, these are people who've lost, a loved one. They're grieving over this. In the moment, this is, days after their deaths. And you're asleep? That's not what was happening. He was incoherent. He was probably crapping himself.
It's funny, Charles. There's a list of stories here of Biden falling asleep at various meetings,
and it's not acceptable when you think about Rudy Giuliani and how he got crime under control in New York. You have to lead by example. You cannot have a doofus as president of the United States stealing money through his family for 50 years, getting away with it. That just, and then opening up the border, the various borders, letting all the criminals in. You just can't do this forever. And there has to be an actual, truly transparent investigation of what happened. And the wrongdoers here need to be severely punished so that the next time some doofus gets installed as president, the people look around and say, I don't want to do what Liz Cheney did because she's still in prison. You have to make examples of this. The January 6th process, you and I, the tape that you did of our visit there on January 6th, 2021, that should be reviewed frame by investigators and compared to other videos. And every suspicious person that we noticed, and we noticed it live on air. Many suspicious looking people. Every one of those people can be hunted down, right? And the people who are rotting in prison now, who served time in prison, who've had their lives destroyed, their finances destroyed, you can't get Ashley Babbitt's life back, but there needs to be a thorough vetting of what actually happened. Why was Nancy Pelosi's daughter filming a documentary that day? What really happened on, saying that the National Guard troops shouldn't be brought into the fold? What was Mark Milley doing? Even if he's pardoned, we still need to get to the bottom of what actually happened here. And there needs to be justice done here. There people who are complicit in this, who are leading this plot to destroy the MAGA movement, they need to be brought to justice. They need to be taught a very serious lesson.
I totally agree, Charles. Let's actually just take a moment because I happen to have queued up this section of the video where we were talking to these people about them taking down signs. See, they were messing with the fence. Remember that?
They're going to get arrested.
I don't know.
We were talking about how people are going to get arrested. We saw so many people there doing things that were obviously not normal things to be doing. And now, in retrospect, Owen Schroyer, Alex Jones he's a reporter on InfoWars. He did a video where he's saying, even though he's out of jail, the Bureau of Prisons still has his driver's license. And because there's such a migrant crisis going on where they are in Texas, he's unable to get another driver's license. So he can't do certain things that he needs. He can't get on a plane, I guess. Can't do things for work. I mean, it's amazing how they have taken control of the justice system. I was saying to you just before we got on air, it's literally like Back to the Future 2, where we've arrived and the criminals have taken over. The decent people are in jail or killed, and everything is off the rails. Society has been totally destroyed.
Yeah. And to that end, I saw a very disturbing survey that said 41% of the young, I don't know if it's Gen Z or a young cohort of the population, believes 41% that the United Health assassination was justified. 41%. And let me just finish the thought. I want to connect the dot for you. That underscores the rot in higher education. The reason that 41% believe that is that the entire workforce that's teaching and setting examples in high school, maybe grade school, and certainly universities is rotten to the core. They believe that their mission is not education and opening up the frontiers of knowledge. No, their mission is teaching that all white men are supremacists and evil, that America's evil, that the system needs to be brought down, that the man is corrupt. You need to have wholesale reform in education. Forget the Department of Education. That needs to go. That's a pimple. You have to go through every single educational institution that is a public charity needs to get a visit from the Department of Justice and the FBI and an explanation. Listen, motherfucker, you're a public charity. Okay,
like
99%, 99% of your faculty votes Democratic and gives Democratic. That is not nonpartisan. Okay,
not at all.
You have
just quickly, Charles, before we move off of what you were saying along the lines of that Luigi character, I think you and I agree that Saturday Night Live is basically terrible, and kind of the only two funny remaining people there are Colin Jost and Michael Shea with the news. And I just happened to see this clip where Jost mentions that guy Luigi, and the audience cheered. I thought we would see a video of it. There it is. He had well, we can't really look at this on YouTube, I guess, but the audience cheers when he mentions this guy, and he was shocked.
Well, that was like the day when Brett Baer called the election for Biden in 2020, that Saturday walk around that we did spontaneously, the call is made and instantly cowbells are going off, and people are all excited, and we go and walk around Washington Square Park in the Village, and we see these throngs of people who are elated that a doofus, a mentally decrepit, corrupt stooge, has just wrested control of the presidency from Donald Trump in what I think was a series of illegal acts. But the jubilation on the face, people were cheering and they were thronging the streets and whatever. And my reaction to that was, I live here? There are all these people like this fucking crazy? and and I'm living here? I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
So I did.
Yeah, pretty bad for sure. You're going to want more cowbell, I think, though, Charles.
Yeah. Well, actually, I told you about this, and Bannon, he's actually matured. He's, I guess, 71 now, but on War Room, he's much more composed, and he gave this great clip. I think he was out in Phoenix at the event. Trump just gave an hour and 18-minute speech at the event, closing it off. But Bannon got up there, and in a nutshell, he said, Donald Trump is a good man. I am not a good man. I want Old Testament vengeance. And he goes on, and I agree with him. I think we need Old Testament vengeance. These people who played in a rigged game, knowing that their heinous acts would never be prosecuted and that they could find some trumped up basis to get you in front of a jury, either in New York City or Washington, D.C., in a place that's 95% anti-conservative, and cause you financial hardship and maybe jail time. Those people who've abused the justice system if they're lawyers, they can never practice in any capacity anywhere on earth. That's why they can't be consultants. Well, jail first, and then after that, you cannot earn a living off the law. Whether it's, as a lawyer, getting your license back, impossible. You can't pretend that you understand the law and call yourself a consultant. You can't. You got to do something. You got to actually make a product, provide a real service, not to the government. You can't be a government contractor. You can't work in a nonprofit. Get a real life.
Just hammer license plates in prison for the rest of time is really all, I think.
Right, but that word, I think that word is out. I think there are people who believe that they can escape the reckoning that's coming, and maybe they're bargaining for pardons and hoping that they'll bite. But a pardon is not going to protect you 100%. Some of these crimes are state crimes and local crimes. And history is not going to be kind to you. And I think there's going to be a stigma. There was, Obama had this magic aura about him, when he was first elected. He was the modern Jesus or whatever, modern prophet. And you could say nothing wrong about the guy. And when you think what he was saying in the close to this 2024 election about Trump was the kind of ranting and raving that we witnessed together in Washington Square Park and other places by Methuselah. I mean, it made no fucking sense to say Donald Trump is going to destroy democracy based on what evidence? How do you, as a former president of the United States, you're sitting there, you got 4 fucking mansions, right? And you've never done an honest day's work in your life. You probably never wrote any of the so-called books that have netted you tens of millions of dollars. And these films and documentaries are all put together by other people as a guest. You've won all these different awards that you didn't deserve. You got all this money you didn't deserve. And you're complaining? I mean, how do you complain about this life?
Charles, what did you think about Elon Musk and Vivek Ram? A lot of people are saying that Elon Musk, he's the president and everything, but they kind of shut down that crappy bill. It's pretty good, actually, I thought.
Well, I mean, let's contrast, as I like to do, Elon Musk to Trump with George Soros to the swamp. Yes, Elon Musk is selling cars. He's doing space missions. He's providing all kinds of products and services. Does he want to sell more of it? Yes. Does he sell some of that to the government? Yes. But he's competing. He's out-competed NASA, right? If the government's so great, how come he does a better job in the private sector? And NASA with, in theory, unlimited funding, has given up competing against him.
Well,
So there's something.
he speaks about it quite extensively in that Walter Isaacson book. It's got to do with just the culture, this system called cost plus, where they're actually incentivized to make it cost more and take more time. I mean, it's the kind of thing where when it's explained to you, it's just clearly stupid, counterproductive, and just impossible to make work. So the notion that we need to take this kind of like startup company mentality is right. I mean, when I was doing 21st century 3D and trying to make a 3D camera, I spoke to so many engineers who said, the approach you want to take, Jason, is never going to work. We need to do all this board layout and, all these things that are going to cost $1 million. And I said, well, I'll tell you what's never going to work is that, because I don't have $1 million, but yet I made it work. And it's that type of out of the box, sorry to use such a cliche, but that sort of unusual thinking, unconventional solutions to problems, all this kicking the can down the road, going along to get along. Maybe that worked from 1940 to 1960, but by the time we got to the 1980s and, everything with globalism and Clinton in the 90s and offshoring manufacturing and certainly bringing in all these unskilled, they're not even laborers. They're just people who want to set people on fire on the subway and destroy New York City. It's insane.
But just trying to answer your question, though, contrasting Musk and Soros. I mean, Soros is somebody who every minute of every day around the world has people who are trading, trying to make money off of his inside knowledge of what is going on in the various places where he's destabilizing countries and pretending to do charity work and buying off politicians here and there. George Soros is lionized on the left. Why? Because he gives the left tons of money, as does Bill Gates. And Musk, thank God he bought Twitter. He overpaid for Twitter. Maybe in the end it'll look brilliant, but he certainly paid more than it was worth on the day that he bought it. He paid for the potential that he saw in it. Right. And what happened there is he is making our republic, forget this idea that we're a democracy, our republic of informed and concerned citizens has a set of tools on X that applied enormous and justified pressure on these congressmen and senators and lobbyists who thought they were going to pull yet another fast one on us. And I think it's a remarkably positive development. I would love to see what's really in the bill. I fail to understand how we went from needing a 1,500 plus page bill to, and the Democrat, idiot, they call him Dollar Store Obama, Hakeem Jeffries.
I don't think that's a compliment.
No, it's not. How Dollar Store Obama was up there saying, he's going to teach Trump a lesson and Doge a lesson. And next thing you know, when the first bill failed, and then the second bill failed, he was like, you got to negotiate with us. Fuck you. We're, the only game in town. We're going to teach you a lesson. Schumer was saying, we still control the Senate. You're not going to get anything through the Senate that doesn't have our approval. And lo and behold, minor tweaks. And I want to see what's in the final version, but minor tweaks. And you get like 300 plus people in the House voting and 36 against it or whatever. And in the Senate, it's like 80 something to 15 or whatever it was. I mean, how did that happen? Why did all these people suddenly cave?
I don't know.
And I think it's in part because Musk was able, using Twitter, there was a spontaneous explosion. People saw this bullshit. I'm not getting a 35% raise, and you're not getting a 35% raise. And so across the country, people say, I can't live on $174,000 a year. Fuck off. The average.
That's a lot more money than most people make.
Right. A lot, spend less money, you douchebag. You don't need a Tesla AOC. And how did you afford that anyway?
She made a video with somebody snoring in the background where she's saying that, Elon Musk has increased his net worth since the election. It's like, guess what? As long as his financial contributions were legal, he's allowed to do that. He's not in Congress. But Charles, forgive me, we're at the point here where we're about to make our way over to the First Amendment Forum, where we'll be able to look at some of these videos and talk about some more stuff. Right. People can join us on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. I want to thank everybody for their patience with me through the development of this mobile in-car studio. But I have to tell you, Charles, this is something of a breakthrough, and I'm going to be revealing more about exactly why I'm doing this and what is going on in here. There's a final leg of technology to be unveiled and the method to this madness. But this is literally a completely mobile studio. I can recreate essentially everything that we can do in New York, except, well, you could be here sitting next to me. We could do that perhaps in a future episode, but you're a little far for me to drive to right now. We will be back in less than 5 minutes. So I hope that people will join us. I hope that people will sponsor the show. We're not going to see everybody again before Christmas, right? Or what day is Wednesday? Is Christmas Wednesday?
No, we'll do a show on Christmas.
Okay.
It'll be Boxing Day for me, but
excellent. Pugilism.